Welcome to the very first episode of Sass and Surrender, where we're going to dive into some of the kinky things with spanking and domestic discipline and just some of our opinions and ideas on the matter. I'm your host, Drew Spanks, or Drew.
I'm your other host. I fly away. Or fly.
I fly. And this podcast was born out of our just love for spanking and domestic discipline. And today we are laying the foundation of what's to come. All right. So to start, since we don't really have a topic, we figured we could kind of like just tell you about our story with kink and spanking and things like that to get started, just to give you kind of a background of each of us and our dynamic. And yeah, as we start this new journey of sharing a podcast that hopefully you guys like. So I will start. So I got into spanking probably at a very, very young age. In like the third grade, I think I realized in reading this book, it was called Shades of Grey. And it had like, it had a strapping scene. Not 50 Shades of Grey. Shades of Grey. And it had a strapping scene in it where an uncle strapped his nephew that was living with them for Civil War reasons or whatever. Highly recommend that chapter in the book. But I just kind of like read that over and over again and I was just kind of hooked. So then kind of as I grew up in my dating relationships, girlfriends and things like that, I tried to bring it into those relationships. And a lot of times I felt like it was met with, I don't know, adversity or like awkwardness. And I knew I needed it in my life. And most of those girlfriends, I think, just looked at it as like foreplay or something like that, where it was like they would let me like spank them a couple times, and it just didn't come to the level that I wanted it. So I got married, and it was kind of leading up. She would let me spank her a little bit, but then once we got married, just kind of cut off. And I knew I needed it more. I kind of watched like spanking porn and stuff like that during that relationship, and kind of realized that I couldn't live without a spankering relationship like in my life. It was just too important to me, not just like the domestic discipline side, but like spanking just as a whole. I needed it in my life. And we ended up getting divorced for some different reasons. I mean, I think spanking was a big part of it. Why we weren't connecting on that deeper level. Now that I have a new perspective with who I will refer to as Babe here, with I Fly or Fly, I just have a new perspective for it. And I realize how much I need it on a constant basis. But so went through that, went to dating a girl that was kinky as well and getting married to her and realizing that it needs to be a deeper connection than just the spanking. So like I need the spanking, but I also need that like love and intimacy and connecting on a deeper level. So it's kind of like it's just been a lot of realizations. So like I need the spanking, but I also need the deepness and I need that connection. And I think the spanking can bring a connection, but you still have to be very compatible with the people that you're in a relationship with. That makes sense.
Oh yeah. I mean, we talked recently about someone that posted out that life there, like your connection and kink can cloud your judgment. Vanilla life. It's probably a topic for another time.
Yeah.
It's easy to grasp onto that, especially coming off a divorce. Like you were
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, there's a Spanko boy?
Yeah.
Like they exist.
Yeah. So that relationship also ended. I will say, that was a part I missed. So in between, well, I think the tail end of my relationship with my first wife, I also started kind of like reaching out in the community, like some of the spanking websites, like for dating and stuff. and started like really only connecting with like older women, which was like it really wasn't what I was looking for because I was looking for it on like a somebody I could have a relationship with, not just spanking older women. And that was when I came across my second wife who was younger, and I just kind of thought that okay, there must not be anybody else out there. I'm lucky to find this person that's my age and interested in a relationship and the spanking. And that's kind of what threw me into that, if that makes sense. So anyway, then fast forward during that relationship with my second wife, I met up with Fly. We just happened to just kind of like have random play together one time, and it was awesome. We had a great time, and then just kind of lost touch over those few years. And then she recently kind of realized like I wasn't posting things, with that current wife, and that we kind of had separated on Fet, like we had a joint Fet life, and it had just kind of become just a me Fet life. And so she reached out, and just to make sure I was okay and just kind of relate, I won't take away from her story either, slipped into my DMs, so to
What is
speak.
your DS?
Slid into my DMs, and we kind of got together from there. I won't give away too much because we can talk about our relationship too, how we came in together after she kind of talks about her kink journey. So that's not enough of me talking. We'll let
I'm sure
Fly.
you love to talk.
I do love to talk.
Yeah, so I'm definitely have been a lifelong spanko. I mean, I have a lot of memories of very early years of, like my Barbies definitely got spanked more than other people's Barbies, I'm pretty sure and stuff. And like, I have such a vivid memory of like getting caught in like fourth grade. I like wrote no school in my agenda and turned the like O's in school into like a butt getting spanked, and my teacher definitely saw it and like wrote a note about like Eagles. And I was like, yeah, and I erased it. My parents never saw it, so it was fine. But but I don't think I really like put the pieces together of like that being a kink or a fetish or a thing for me until like high school. And unlike you, I had a boyfriend that was all for that. And he actually introduced me. And I jumped on my phone real quick when we started because I wanted to see. There's a website, it still exists apparently. It's called Literotica, and people like write kinky stories. And that was kind of some of my first experiences. And we did like, I mean, we were 16. It was certainly not any kind of like real dynamic, but we fooled around a little bit with kink stuff and spanking and
Like writing kinky stories or
no, like doing stuff together.
oh,
Like
okay.
he would spank me some. I mean, not hard, like not hard at all. And like we did a little bondage and stuff like that. So like I think that's when I started to kind of feel at least a little bit more normal about it. And then I don't remember when I discovered spanking too, but that kind of made me more like feel like BDSM was a little more normal and like kink foreplay was normal. But it still took me a long time to really understand that like my spanking fetish was not the same and not abnormal in and of itself. I'm trying to remember in college, there's a couple times in college, like guys I dated that spanked me and stuff. And then when I moved to Florida, I discovered like Spanking Tube, and I met a guy on Spanking Tube, and he was very briefly, we had a dynamic for a few months, which is a story for another time, but that didn't last long. And then well, that's a story for, that would be a good topic for like rules and boundaries and things you should know going into a dynamic. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, when I was 20, it's fine. So then I met my ex-husband. So my ex-husband, he would spank me. Like he knew that by that time I had kind of really understood more about domestic discipline at least, and like kind of accepted that I wasn't like a crazy person because I wanted to be spanked more than inside the bedroom. And I think that was probably the thing that I took the most time in like accepting and realizing wasn't like super abnormal, because like yeah, spanking for foreplay is very different than punishment or domestic discipline. My kink leans heavily disciplinary. So my ex-husband, there was a couple times that I would say he gave me decent discipline-ish spanking, but for many reasons outside of that, it wasn't really like a head of household situation. And, like he was still more of a foreplay kind of spanker, even though like it was decent and hard and like I would get marks and stuff sometimes, but it still wasn't fulfilling that deeper need. But at that time, I didn't really, I guess, realize how much it was fulfilling that deeper need. So after our divorce, I really started to get back into kink, and without getting too much into it, I met a couple different play partners that I went through before you and I reconnected.
Mhm.
I did have a dynamic for about 6 months or so. That was pretty solid, but we were just friends, and he ended up meeting a vanilla and it. But yeah, and during that was around the time we met the first time was sort of when that ended, and then there was a really long dry spell, like when I when I slid into your DMs, as they say. But I think for me, really what it was, so we met and we were married, but playing with others, obviously. But I think one of the biggest things, because we're about 2 hours away, a little less, was the distance. Like, it was very hard for me as a newly single mom to be traveling on the weekends. And, like, you weren't someone I really knew well enough to be doing that. And I think that was the biggest thing that I was like, oh, well, if you're divorced, maybe he'll come here and we can hang out and play sometimes. Then, boy, was that not what ended up happening. I mean, it was, but obviously much more. Yeah, that's my concern.
What's your kink journey? Well, yeah, we can talk about like how we got together.
Yeah, I think we've come to that point.
We've come to that point together. So yeah, so I think it was in maybe October, right?
Yeah.
October.
Yeah, because the first time we hung out was like early November.
Yeah. So like October was when you reached
First time
out
we hung out again.
again. Yeah. So yeah, she reached out to me. I was like, yeah, let's get together, whatever works best for you, and I can come down to you. So we came down, hung out. Did I get a hotel that
Yeah,
time?
you did.
Get a hotel, right?
Because we met for breakfast,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you came over to my house,
Spanked you,
spanked me here,
obviously.
and then I met you at your hotel after.
Yes. And we did spanking and stuff like that. And then we kind of made it like every couple weeks when we could, I would come down and get a
Yeah, it
hotel
was like a month after.
month after.
Again, because that's when I was out of town.
That's right.
And then you were out of town. So early on, it was more like once a month.
Yeah, like once a month.
And then,
And I think we both kind of realized that we needed or wanted and needed to see each other more often. So we started just kind of getting together every couple weeks. We went to Universal at one point.
I think the second or third time we hung out is when we kind of started really having more of a dynamic, at least with like,
Yeah, like setting up some rules and stuff like that. And it was probably around the time that I told you that I loved you, right?
yeah.
And so I told her that.
Yeah, actually it was. I remember it. The second time we hung out is when we established the no cheating. That was
Okay.
only the second time. Because
Okay.
the third time we hung out is when you told me.
Yes, I loved her. So yeah, I told her that. And
Not prematurely at all.
and see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I read the signals very wrong at that point. Yeah, I'll tell everybody all that. Feel like a dummy. So I read the signals wrong. So I told her that I loved her, thinking, okay, this could be more, than just spanking, and I was feeling those strong feelings when I said that. And The vibe I got that was incorrect from what I've learned, I thought she was saying that she couldn't handle a relationship that also involved like spanking, like mixing the vanilla with the kinky. I didn't think I read it as she couldn't have both in the same relationship. It was too strong a relationship for her. So in my simplistic male mind, we there's this there's this thing like that we
Let me
saw.
tell the reality though. So basically, for those who are listening, I came off a divorce. We both were coming off a divorce. And what it was for me is we jumped so heavily into the kink side of things. Like I said, the second time that we hung out, we were starting rules that I just wanted to really be sure that the vanilla feelings were there and it was more than just that. And like I had said, a lot of times the kink compatibility can really cloud your judgment. So I just wanted to take the vanilla side in the potential relationship very, very slow.
Hmm. And once again, what my simplistic male mind thought was that she didn't want the vanilla side of things, but did want the kink side of things with me. And so I thought there was no chance for us to have a relationship. I just thought we were just going to be spanking play partners and have fun and enjoy, the dynamic and that side of things, but relationally that there wouldn't be anything. And I decided, that I thought, that Fly was a good kink partner, kink side of things. And I just didn't think the vanilla was something that she wanted. So, I was still playing with people, dating or trying to hook up in what is a very wild dating scene right now. And just hoping I could find that partner. And I was wrong. So I was very wrong. And I found that out like we met, I don't remember when this was.
It was like 6 weeks later.
6 weeks later, we met up and went to dinner. I mean, we were playing. Obviously, we had a hotel room and things like that.
It was after Universal.
It was after Universal. We had a hotel room. We went out to dinner, and she kind of brought up that.
It started because we were deciding. Well, we were in our heads. That makes you hear you get them played conversation. We had already established a dynamic, and we were getting kind of prepared to we had made plans to go to gas together.
Oh yeah,
So we were going to talk
that's the
about
Georgia National Party.
yes, the Georgia National Party, and we had planned. Yeah, so we had talked about kind of discussing how things would work playing with other people, and I decided that when that conversation came up would be when I would kind of bring up the feelings thing and dating you, and I was under the impression you were kind of on the same page that that's where things were going, but
Yeah, it was super awkward. We actually went into it was a BJ's restaurant was the name of the restaurant. We were in the middle of that and I had I don't know, it just caught me so off guard because it was not in my head or my mind that that was a possibility or something that could happen. And so I was just really, really caught off guard in that situation. And it was awkward. And I hate BJ's to this day, the restaurant.
you will not go.
Yeah.
Ruined it.
Yeah, it's ruined it for me. But at least, like, I guess the true feelings came out there. So I knew where she stood on the matter. And I was just like, it was just all new information for me to take in. And then, of course, I felt dumb, like a dummy. And rightfully so. I felt like a dummy. And yeah, it was a really, I mean, it was like a great conversation.
Well, we didn't talk very much at BJ's. Like we tried to because we were both very emotional. So we were trying to talk about it, but not talk about it because we were in a restaurant. Uh, and then I actually remember this very well. I don't know if you remember this part, but the second we got out to the car, you were like crying and fucking so sorry for your feelings, blah, blah. And then we had a super fun 2-hour conversation at the hotel it was just like, I don't know, you were very, very, very overwhelmed.
Yeah. Well, and I guess what I didn't say earlier is I'm a very emotional guy. I definitely express my emotions, especially like with partners and that kind of thing. Like I would say during the day, like at my job, like my day job, maybe I'm not like that emotional. But like with my partners, I'm very open and emotional and present because I'm a creative type as well. So a lot of time like artists and creative types like that aren't afraid to like share their emotions or be emotional, which I know that doesn't necessarily always fit the MO of like a normal man either. Normally men don't really share their emotions like that. Yeah, I was very emotional, very teary, cryy, lots of crying.
Yeah.
Cause I'm like taking all this in, like in the moment, like realizing that I could have all this with this person that I love, but I had to push down some of my feelings for, because I didn't know that that was like a possibility. Because I was vulnerable early. She wanted to take the right steps and make sure I know. Yeah,
I'm giving him dirty looks.
giving me dirty looks. You can't see it through the audio recording.
Like, duh.
Like, duh, I know. But yeah, I was just like, and we also kind of like talked through like how our vanilla lives would blend.
Yeah, because I mean, you live a little far.
Yep.
We both have children and co-parent.
Yeah.
Each of each have a child.
And and another thing is I'm a planner. So that's was really hard for me, like because I want to know the plan, and this was kind of just like,
It's like, we can never live together. You live too far away. Like, oh, buddy,
yeah,
calm down.
yeah, I was like really wrestling that in my mind and then loving her and I mean a relationship is it's you don't know what it's going to be, you don't know. There's a lot of unknowns with a relationship. So, of course I was like telling her all my flaws and just like all those kind of things. I was pointing out your flaws. I do not remember that.
You're like, you said something about how messy I
Oh yeah.
am.
Oh yeah. She is very messy. The most messy. I told her I think I can like organize her, but we'll see. Because I'm a minimalist and organized, very organized, and she's like,
Borderline hoarder.
well, I don't know if it's you or
Functional hoarder. Anyway.
your roommates. Your roommate. I don't know who is more the hoarder. Anywho, not important. What do we say? A and B personalities,
Yeah.
something like that. What were we saying? Oh yeah, because I'm like trying to figure all this out in my mind. So it's very overwhelming for me, like trying to put together a plan of what I thought was only a kink relationship turning into an all-encompassing relationship.
Yeah.
But obviously, a good problem to have. I don't know. At the time, it was very overwhelming.
Yeah. And it was weird. I think it's to be so not on the same page. It was just like mind blowing, I think, for both of us. Because that's what it was like, what do you mean? Like, we had some arguments over whether the conversations were clear about
Right.
things. And
Yeah.
like, I will find you text messages. So,
Yeah.
but then I don't know. I feel like I don't even know. I think it was only like like the next time we hung out that we decided like things were good.
Yeah. Well, that we were on the same page was next time,
Yeah.
I think is when we discovered that is
Yeah.
that we were on the same page at least.
Yeah. You need time to process.
Yeah, because like there at this time, like the divorce from my previous wife, was still kind of fresh. I mean, there's even to date, there's still some people that don't know. So I was like, I can't be everything that I want to be to you at this point. That was the conversation we had a couple months later. It was like, I felt like I couldn't be everything you needed at the time. So I was like trying to give it time. Yeah, because not everybody like in the vanilla social media was aware of the divorce and blah blah blah. And like so it's like I just was worried that I couldn't give that. And she's like, I don't care, right? Like how were you feeling at that time?
Yeah, at that time, like, I like, that doesn't mean we can't define a relationship. And I think for me, a lot of uh, that issue, which would be a great topic to discuss, is the playing with other things. Like, it was really important to me, like, that we knew what we were before gas.
Hmm.
Like, that's one of the reasons I was really, because we were getting close. I think it was like the next time I saw you after that was when we went to gas meeting. Oh no,
Right.
it wasn't. We had one more time. But anyway, so it was like before we start navigating playing with others at such a big national party, because just to give a little background on our kink journey, so Drew, obviously, you host parties
Mm-hmm.
in the Florida area, and that weekend was my first party ever with you, with your party.
Mm-hmm.
And then just a few weeks after that, we were going to Gas, which is a, rather large national party. So that was a big motivating factor in me being like, what's up? Like, we need to figure this out, because I wanted to go to Gas feeling secure in us and our relationship, and that we were a real relationship before we started to where you'd be playing with fun other people.
Right. True. Yeah. And I'm sure like to make sure that there wasn't any damage to our relationship done at gas, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like what we had and what we've been building. Yeah. So then we made it official that we were dating.
We made it Pet Life
We
official.
made it Fat Life official.
Not Facebook official. Pet
Yeah,
Life.
made it Fat Life official that we were dating. So that was cool. We got to go to gas. We'll probably do like an episode on that where we can talk about our experience and what we took from that first national party. And yeah, we've just been slowly integrating. I wouldn't say slowly, actually. We've we've said we're going to take our time with our relationship, which I think is important because in past relationships I've rushed into things and I don't want to make
Same.
that. Yeah, I don't want to make that mistake again. I want to learn from past mistakes, and so we've been just like slowly integrating like the vanilla side of things with the kink side of things, and that's been great, right?
Yeah. I, I feel like navigating playing with others is really kind of a whole nother topic. So I don't want to get into it too much, but, we've had conversations, both of us, about how, like, shockingly easy that's been, in terms of any hard feelings or jealousy or things like that. And I think a large part of that is just because we're both like lifelong Spankos, where it's such a deep part of who we are, that we like sharing in that community and being part of that, which is why we're doing this podcast.
Yes. Yeah, to kind of sharing our experiences, sharing our beliefs, like, just things we've learned over the years through all this, because we feel like we're at a comfortable point in our life and our relationship to share these things with you guys and kind of give back to the community, so people can connect. And we hope that you guys like it. I mean, that's the whole point of this podcast is so we can talk through these things and talk through things that we're thinking about and how it relates to spanking and kink and everything like that. And hope that we can bring some like guests on maybe and just talk to other people and get some perspectives and stuff. We're active on FetLife and posting things and we posted some stuff that people have said, like
I really relate to
I
this.
really relate to it,
Really
resonate
resonate
that.
with this. So yeah, I feel like, and that's one of the greatest things for me. And again, maybe a topic for another time, but that it's so difficult for us to people in the middle of the world don't understand the deep connection that is required in a dynamic and in a BDSM relationship. And one of the greatest joys I have with us being more and more, and because keep in mind, like my ex-husband, we didn't play with other people. He wasn't a spanko, like he did it for me. And, like, so I used to kind of say on my profile, like, I'm kind of a newbie, but kind of not. I don't feel that way anymore. But like post my divorce, like I wasn't a newbie in terms of like I have known for a long time what I want and what I need in a dynamic or play partner things, but at the same time, like I was really new to the scene only a few years ago. And I feel kind of even now, like, you know, Gas was my first big party, your party was my first party. So I feel like we're at a point where we're really kind of growing in the community and making more friends and connecting with more people. And it's just that has been so special to me because I feel like it's people that get it, the people that you can have conversations like where we shared writings about, times where we pushed my limits and how me and you had the best connection ever with him. This time he was like beating me to tears, So being
Right.
it's just such a special thing to have people that you can share those stories with and have those connections and like understand that a normal thing. Like it's not something that shouldn't be discussed or is
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And yeah, I think we'll like dive into that stuff more and more as we go, post more podcasts and stuff like that. We're hoping to do this like, I don't know, every couple weeks or something whenever we can. Maybe we'll end up getting more consistent with it as we go on.
if people listen.
If people listen and like it and are taking something from it. Yeah. And the other thing too, I'll say like about our relationship, kind of like the last thing, like kind of wrapping up is like there isn't a day that goes by that both of us don't realize how lucky we are to have each other and to have this relationship. I see people post on FetLife all the time. They're looking for that partner, losing hope or can't believe they can't find the person they just want to be with or they've, been looking for. And it's like, you just never know when you're going to come across that person. And we just were lucky enough. Like we saw a movie today that like kind of said it was like, a few years back, like when we met wasn't the right time, or like had it been 10 years ago, it might not have been the right time. We might not have been at the right spot in our lives to where we connect, but we met.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I think if you were single too anyway, but I know for me personally, I was not in a place to really be starting a relationship, let alone one that has such a strong dynamic 2
Right.
years ago.
Right. Because it
If
like,
you happened to have been single at that time.
right. Well, and like what the movie was saying is like, you can, like, love isn't like the only thing. You have to be on the bridge at the same time as the other person, for it to really
You
work
have to
out.
be in the right place at your life.
Yeah, for it to work. And we were at that place and we just were lucky and blessed enough to find each other and like have this. So that's not definitely not lost on us. Like something we realize all the time. And I probably tell her I love her way too much, but yeah, she loves it. Yeah, I tell her that all the time because I realize it. It's something I'm like, honestly, like it's something I'm like constantly realizing over and over. And then I just like vocalize it a lot. Um,
Yeah. I think one of the things that has made everything so easy for us is that we're both so open in general as people, like
mhm.
overshare open, like way too open.
Yeah,
Like you are definitely the only person I've ever been with, I think that is more open with your feelings than I am. Like I've never been the reserved one in a relationship. So it's certainly an interesting flip flop in that regard. But yeah, that's definitely, I mean, a topic that will communication is so crucial
oh, super important.
and worth more than 2 seconds. But I think
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest things is that
yeah,
how
and
comfortable we are coming to each other for any
yeah, any feeling. Well, and that's the other thing I'll say, guys, is like we are communicating with each other like 24/7. I mean, like, I start my day with her and I end my day with her. We say good morning and good night, super important. And then throughout all that middle space, we're just back and forth. Even when we're working, jobs, kids, all the stuff, we're still communicating like how we're feeling, what we're doing, talking. I mean, it's a constant thing. And I don't know if that's the same in every relationship, but it lets me know how she's feeling. And then I feel like I'm comfortable. I could tell that she knows. Do you feel like you know how I'm feeling throughout the day? Yeah. Because we don't cease conversation. And like, if like hard topics were to come up or there's anything we need to talk through, we talk through it. Like, we don't withhold each other's communication from each other.
No, and we've had like I wouldn't say we haven't had any fights, but we've had hiccups in communication where, especially in texting, like I feel like we've had enough of like a couple issues here and there come up that we like for me personally, especially as a submissive, like again, a topic we'll get into deeper another time. Being able to feel like you can safely express yourself and not just be overridden by the dominant. We've had a couple of those little things that have come up that I feel safe and confident that anything I bring up will be received and considered and not just like he's a very I don't make all the rules kind of top, which is something we should talk about another time too.
Yeah.
But I think that's hugely important and definitely something that I maybe next time I think we should get into more of our dynamic and the things that make that right for both people.
Yeah.
Because that is something I see a lot with even with tops that I've interacted with that have good intentions, but I don't feel like are the type that are like, oh, I'm going to top every bottom in the world with my, macho top attitude. Even ones that are generally nice people and have good intentions, still, there's this attitude of I'm in charge and I make up the rules. So I think that's something that we should definitely discuss another time and kind of how things work with us because I think that's super important for submissives to be able to feel like they have a voice.
Yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah. I think we'll dive into that in our next episode, talking about like that dynamic and how we establish rules, things like that,
Yeah.
and why we think it's the best for us. I mean, I can't say it's not. Everybody's different, obviously, but I think it's a very healthy way, and we'll kind of dive into why we think that way is a healthy and good, wholesome way for both the top and the bottom. But yeah, so
That was a
that's
little bit about us.
that's us. So our first
This is
episode,
kind of a general get to know us. So
yeah,
we
get
don't
to know
really
us.
talk too much about spanking and our dynamic, but a little bit.
Yeah, because it's important for you guys to know like where we've come from.
For sure.
Yeah, because then some of the comments and things we'll say, later on will make more sense when we're in the moment like that.
So yes, hope listen in next time and we'll get more into our dynamic and how that's structured and things that we feel like work for us and would be good for other people to consider.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, leave us some feedback, some reviews, questions, topics, things like that that you think you would like to hear us talk about because we're always going to be open to that. Like some different things that we could discuss on here that interest you. I know there's a ton of podcasts out here about this stuff, but at least you'll get like our perspective on it. If you want to go on FetLife and add us, we're both always open to friends. You can find me Drew underscore Spanks with an S on the end. And then Fly is I underscore fly underscore away on FetLife. And feel free to reach out to us there. Friend us, send us messages.
Let us know what you think of our podcast.
Yeah, we're friendly people. We don't bite hard. But yeah. And then, yeah, check out our next episode. Like I said, we'll try to do this every couple weeks if we can, and then if people like it, then we'll try to be more consistent about it and get ahead with some recordings and stuff like that. So we're just kind of testing the waters to see what you guys think. But thanks for listening. I'm Drew Spanks,
And I might fly away.
and this is Sass and Surrender.